First ever Hyrox experience, qualified for the World Championships. I go into full leg cramps. Most painful moment I felt in any race period. I am so proud of myself because that is the furthest I've pushed myself mentally ever. My heart rate is saying 216. I drive myself to the ER. She goes, "Sir, I think you're having a heart attack." There was a split second where I thought this might be it. And I think the biggest lesson God is teaching me right now. Hey guys, welcome back to another video. If this is your first time on the channel, my name is Preston Ruth. I'm a former Division I runner, and I now post content to help others reach their health and fitness goals. So today's video is all about my first ever Hyrox experience, the background and training that went into making the decision to do this event, as well as some of the aftermath, what I've learned from the race, and the steps moving forward. So let's get into the video. So last month I did my first ever Hyrox up in Boston in the Pro Doubles division with my good buddy from college. We placed third in our age group and qualified for the World Championships that are in Sweden next summer. And it was a really interesting experience. It was by far the most painful, humbling race I've ever had in my life. The aftermath and some of the health scares that came from the race also threw me for a loop, and I'll talk a little bit more about that story. Kind of the background on why did I even do this Hyrox. For those of you that have now followed the channel for 2 years, you've seen that the foundation of this page has been running. That I've ran for 10 plus years, from the 800 up to the half marathon. I've never really done this style. Last year when I did my first triathlon, it was the first time that an idea to do another event or another fitness competition kind of came into my mind. And when that happened, I thought it would be cool each year to challenge myself with something different, with something I had never done before. And after the first 3 months of this year, really hitting the weight room hard and feeling stronger, once my buddy convinced me to do this Hyrox, I thought, why not? We signed up for the Boston event in the Pro Doubles division, and then in June, I started my training. Now, training was very interesting for this. I've told you guys this before, I've never trained for a Hyrox. So it was very thrown together. It was a lot of trial and error. For me, I did about 20 miles a week of running, so I would run about 4 times a week. It usually was a couple of easy runs, a longer style workout, along with a longer run to finish out the week. I would do 2 to 3 lifts per week, finish each of those workouts with some sort of Hyrox movement. Now, there's a lot of you that are watching this video that might be wondering, what is a Hyrox? So to explain the Hyrox, it basically is 8 1,000 meter runs split up by 8 different exercises. The 8 exercises are the ski erg, sled push, sled pull, burpee broad jumps, the rower, farmer's carry, sandbag lunges, and wall balls. But it really is the perfect combination of speed and endurance and strength, and it really is tougher than what I was expecting. So along with the new training style was also the work travel piece. I've been on the road for a lot of this year out in Bakersfield, California for a project, and so the reality was I didn't have access to any Hyrox specific gyms. I was doing a lot of makeshift workouts in the Crunch Fitness gym. There was a couple of movements that I either didn't work or only worked a couple times. Me and my buddy did one full sim the 4th of July weekend, and that was it. Going into the race, I definitely was undertrained. I did a good amount of running, I did a good amount of lifting. I didn't do a lot of Hyrox specific workouts. That eventually came back to bite me in the butt. The days leading up to the race itself, me and Sam got into Boston a few days before, so the race was on a Friday. We got in on a Wednesday. We went down to Cape Cod for a day, we explored the city, we had Italian in the north end, and tried to get off our feet as much as we could. Friday we got to the convention center, and I was just amazed. One, by the sheer size of it, and just the atmosphere, the vibe, the energy, completely different from any road race that I'd done before. Loud, it was hype. It's the most amped I've ever been before a race. Going into the race, me and Sam talked about our race plan, and since I was the better runner, I would be pacing all our 1Ks. So the goal was to hit all our 1Ks at 350 pace. That's what we trained for. One lap around the entire course was 500 meters. And so I kind of knew the split time that I had to hit each lap to make sure that we stayed on pace. I would be starting and finishing all the exercises to give him more recovery time. So I'd do a quarter, he'd do half, I'd do a quarter to finish. So now I'm gonna get into some splits from the race. I got the RoxFit app pulled up. The first run was actually longer than 1,000 meters. So it was weird that first one. We were a little bit long, but we were at 425. We then go into the ski erg. This was an exercise that didn't work a lot, but our goal was to be right at 345. We were at 342, so we're on pace. We were feeling pretty good. Hit run 2 in 342. Still on pace, we're still ahead of pace. At this point, I knew I took us out a little bit too fast. We then go into sled push. Now, sled push was probably what I was most intimidated by, just because when I would train at Crunch, the turf there was horrible. So I couldn't get good footing, and I was not able to move the weight well. So I was wondering, could I hit this total weight, which is about 440 pounds. Thankfully, this was probably my best station. The video that I have here shows me moving the sled, I'm catching people. I felt really, really strong. I definitely worked myself a little too much. What's really tough about the Hyrox is these first few exercises destroy your central nervous system. So your heart rate gets so elevated. So then we went to run 3. Run 3 was 407, and then we went into sled pull. This was an exercise that I worked the least. I might have worked it one time, and that was in the full sim. The thing with sled pull is it really is important the form you use. I had the strength from my time in the weight room to move the weight, but it was in a very inefficient way. I was tiring myself out quicker, and I had to rely a lot more on Sam in this station to carry us through. Going into run 4, we hit 4:12, so we're right at where we were the last time. I'm feeling the pain of the race start to hit. I can feel my legs, I can feel my heart, I can feel my breath. It's that feeling like when you're in the midst of an 800-meter workout and you've done 6 400s, that lactic is starting to creep in. That was when it was really time to lock in. We then go into our 4th station, which is burpee broad jumps. My absolute least favorite. Hated that station. If you look here, I am struggling so much. I was not able, I could barely do any. And I then start to cramp up. I go into full leg cramps. I can barely move my legs. And then we go into run number 5, and this is where the wheels fell off. I'm fully cramping up. I'm just shuffling along. Sam at this point is like a lap ahead of me. Sam swings back around. Like he is shocked that I've fallen this off pace. Most painful moment I felt in any race period, more than any last 200 of an 800, more than any half marathon. I mean, this was true pain. We then go into the rower. Sam does most of it and hits 4:03, which is kind of, we were hoping to be like 3:45 to 4 minutes. We hit the 1,000 meters on the rower. What was a saving grace in that race was when you enter and exit the rock zone, they have a water station and they have some electrolytes. And every single time I either entered or left, I took both of those. And so my body came back. And I told myself that prior because I could remember from the full sim, the hardest part for me was the sled push to the burpee broad jump stretch. So we then go into run number 6, 4:44. We're still struggling on pace. At this point, I'm doing everything I can, but I can't push off my legs. So I'm literally just scooting. We go to farmer's carry, which I was happy with this one. We hit 1:30 on this, so we were ahead of the average pace. We then go into run number 7, 4:24. We then go into sandbag lunges. I was really scared in the midst of this race to do these lunges because I was like, I'm gonna take a step down and not be able to come back up. Thankfully, I was able to power through this one. Through it, we hit a pretty good time for the sandbag lunges, and then we go into our final run. So we hit 4:32, and then we go into wall balls. This was another station that I didn't work enough. What's really smart to do is just do 100 wall balls unbroken at the end of a workout a few times a week until wall balls are literally just not a challenge. Most of the people I've talked to that have done Hyrox talk about the importance of just get used to ripping a lot of wall balls straight. I think for me, it was more the catch. I was fumbling the catch a little bit and it was slowing us down. I did about 30, Sam did about 70. He really clutched up for us. We finished the wall balls, we run to the finish line, hour and 6 minutes finish time with a 1-minute penalty. I never got confirmation on what we did, but based on the fact that in the stations, we never got a warning or any sort of indication, it makes me think the lap where I fell off pace and Sam was almost a lap ahead, it makes me think that we got the penalty on that 5th run. So that was the race. I finished and I just felt like I let the group down. But me and Sam were checking the results and we see we're in 3rd place. We're in 3rd place for the 16 to 24 age group. Top 3 in the age group make worlds. We keep refreshing the results. We keep seeing that no one's passing us up. So we're still in 3rd. And then we get to 5 o'clock and we see that we finished 3rd place. We're pretty hyped because we're like, we had a bad race for us, an off day, and we still made worlds. I will say, we did have a very favorable age group. This time of the year is still very early in the Hyrox season. There's a lot of people that are training for Dallas, for Chicago, for Houston. For a lot of them was a training race. People that just this early in the season were not ready to do a Hyrox. This guy clearly. We were pretty happy. It was really cool because we got to be on the podium. We got our finishing patch. We got our flag, which is over on my wall. I am so proud of myself because that is the furthest I've pushed myself mentally ever. More than any race, I went so deep in that pain cave, and I'll talk about the health effects of doing that. But I want to challenge those watching that you can go way deeper than you think you can. With that being said, your body has limits, and I learned that firsthand. I finished the race, I checked my watch. My heart rate is saying 216 for my max heart rate. I know that the most accurate reading is if you have a chest strap, so I took that with a grain of salt. But regardless of the number, that was the highest reading that my watch had shown. So I knew when I got back to Dallas that I needed to go see a doctor and get everything just checked out. Since we were going to Worlds, I'd be doing this again. I needed to make sure things okay. I spent the rest of that weekend up there in Boston. I go to Connecticut to see some friends. I go to New York City. It was a great time. I get back to Dallas and I have a follow-up appointment. They take some blood, do EKG, and the doctors come in and say, hey, your EKG is abnormal. And for 24 years old, shouldn't be showing that. Go to the ER so you can get referred to a cardiologist to see someone this week instead of us referring you because it could take too much time. So I'm like, all right, like again, my chest is a little tight. I'm kind of anxious, but I don't think anything of it. I drive myself to the ER. I get to the ER. They do the same thing. So they take some blood. They do an EKG again. And I'm just in a little side room. Doctors all come in. And I can see the concern on this doctor's face. She goes, "Sir, I think you're having a heart attack. Is there anybody that you want to call?" I'm stunned. I'm sitting there like I'm having a heart attack. Like there's just no way. And after being at the ER for that day, seeing a lot of beds being moved through the hallway, they were at pretty slow paces. Understanding the urgency that I was being pushed down the hallway, I could see the concern on the other patients' faces of the rooms that I passed by. And they probably saw the fear on mine. It feels like a scene in a movie where you're in the hospital hallways. I'm getting pushed by this doctor who's on the phone, like he's 24, he's way too young for this to be happening. And there was a split second where I thought this might be it. And I don't say that to be dramatic, but when on the EKG it's saying acute STEMI and ST elevations for those nurses and doctors that know that terminology. And I'm sitting there like I'm having a heart attack. Like this is unreal to me. So I get to another room, they take my vitals, the blood work comes back. Thankfully, I'm not having a heart attack, but I did have rhabdo. So those of you that know what that is or have had it, not very fun, but essentially what happened was my muscles broke down so much. The creatine levels in my bloodstream were extremely elevated. So a normal CK level is what it's called, that measures the level of creatine in your bloodstream, is supposed to be 0 to 100. Mine was at 3,000 when I got checked 6 days after the race. So I don't know what it was the days before, but if you're at the 5,000 range and up, that's when you get admitted. It really can be dangerous the higher you get. So thankfully, they caught it. I was at the hospital that day for about 8 hours, got some IV fluids done, and it was just me there. But it gave me a lot of time to think and to really sit down and reflect on the race, on this past season of my life. And I think the biggest lesson God is teaching me right now is to slow down. I think I've been running so hard the last few months. Part of the reason I've not been able to put as much content out is because of all the different things that I've kind of overcommitted myself to. And something has to give. And what gave in this season for me was my health and well-being. The heart rate and the rhabdo was due to this Hyrox. Some of the other stuff that I think came out of that showed me that I have pushed myself a little too hard. So having to understand that slowing down, taking a step back, to rethink my priorities and lean into the commitments that God's given me. I've made the decision that I'm not going to be competing at Hyrox Worlds in Sweden next summer. It's tough to turn that down, but I think right now my body needs rest. I've had a couple of other follow-up appointments to figure out what else is going on, if I have any other underlying heart conditions, as I still am having just some weird feelings in my chest and things aren't fully clear yet. Being able to have the next few months to really just reset and get back to the basics. And that's kind of going to be my theme the next few months with running, with this channel. I mean, it's really cool that I'm coming up now on 2 years of posting YouTube videos. This last year, I've not done as much as I really want to just because of the work travel. I have a big personal project that comes out in a month. I'm super excited to share that with you guys. That's taken up a lot of my time. Just adulting and living life in a new city. There's just a lot of things that I have going on this channel. I'm going to get back to the basics, which is running content. It's me just sitting down and talking to a camera and sharing my passion, sharing my knowledge, sharing the tips that help me in my running career. That's what this channel was founded on, and I want to get back to that. This season now is going to be where I get back to running, and I'm not training for a race. I'm just learning to enjoy jogging again and learn how to actually fuel and recover and listen to the tips that I tell you guys, because I've been everyone else's coach for a while and not my own. And I think with this channel of just getting back to simple videos where I'm sitting and talking to you guys and just expressing my passion for running, and it might not be the most flashy or aesthetic video, but it's going to deliver the content. It's going to get the message across. Man, it was a really cool experience to go up there. I'm really thankful for just the entire race weekend, my time with my friend Sam, the chance that we qualified for Worlds. And I also am just so grateful for God's faithfulness, for his hand over my life. I think in those moments, sometimes when you are faced with your own mortality, it's very sobering. I think what it did for me was challenge me to continue to chase after the things that he's put on my heart. For those of you that have been following for some time now, thank you so much for tuning in. If you have not though, I would encourage you guys to subscribe to the channel, hit that bell for notifications, be sure to comment if there's a video that you want to see, a topic that you want me to talk about. That is all for today's video. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time.